Better than better than better than. And welcome to week 2, guys, of the Thought Project. And I'm just sitting here thinking about myself and thinking I am the cookie cutter of this project. And I'm just going with the flow, guys. Trying to get the information out there to you. Relay what is important to keep you guys going straight, going right, going forward. Keep everything going well, man. I got a big showing for you guys tonight. We got a pretty cool interview coming up soon from an aspiring author. You guys should enjoy that very much. Other than that, we're gonna talk a little bit about the Jeep Wrangler. Everybody likes the Jeep Wrangler. It's a great car to eat cereal in. You know, it really is. You're not gonna smell it. It's a very, very smooth. And that is one of the things you want to think about in your car. Are you gonna spill whatever it is that you decide to eat? Man, there's a lot to it, man. Girls love the Wrangler. Girls love to drive the Wrangler. Everybody loves the Wrangler. Maybe you guys should look into getting yourself a Wrangler. I once rode in a Wrangler at the Jacob Javits Center car show. That was very exciting. Good times. But yeah, you know, it's a great car. I mean, I can't say enough about it. Excellent things. You know, it's the one thing that is true. When you look at it, it looks at you. And it tells you the truth. It doesn't lie to you like these other conspiracies. Everything else tries to lie to you. All the other material possessions are lying. Not the Wrangler. The Wrangler lays it out on the line. The Wrangler is real. But yeah, man, I got a pretty interesting caller coming up in a few moments. I'm hoping to get another interview in. If you guys want to call in, say some words, not a big deal. We'll fire it up, set things up. Look at this big boy coming in. But yeah, alright, guys. I'm gonna cut for a commercial right now. Bring you back in after this, and we'll throw you right into my first ever interview on the air.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, Jacob? Just to fill my viewers in today, this is Jacob, my agent Jeff, who you guys have heard about before, put me into contact with his agent, and his agent, you know, basically said, "This is Jacob. He's believes in truthful things like us, and he is writing a book about a topic that he, you know, revolves his life around." So yeah, say hello to Jacob, everybody. Say hello, Jacob.
Hi, everyone. This is Jacob, the Lifeitarian. Can you see me on your screen?
Yeah, we got full visual contact to you right now.
Okay, good. So, we could I could get into the nitty-gritty of lifetarianism. 'Cause I'm assuming many of your viewers are unfamiliar with my work.
Yeah, I feel like my viewers, well, they're always into the underground, the truth, the right side of things. They might not know particularly about your topic, just because it's only beginning to become mainstream. So why don't you fill them in on it?
All right. Well, basically, lifetarianism is not just a diet, but a lifestyle. Okay. So, you all know there are carnivores or meat eaters, and then there's vegans and vegetarians. So, lifetarianism is the alternate to those two, where we eat nothing that was ever alive. Okay. So, many of you are probably thinking that that's already what vegans do, but you're wrong. Okay. Because what do vegans eat? Plants. And plants are alive. They may not be
The
alive in the
vegans,
sense. Sorry, go ahead.
the vegans do love eating their greens, and that really pulls me into something that we're going to be talking about. I actually want to run it by you. I'm going to run it by you in a few minutes after we get into your lifetarian thing, but I just want to keep that imagery in everybody's mind. Keep it in my viewer's mind, my listener's mind. The color green. Think about the green today. Remember last week I said the Giving Tree? That's a green book. Keep the color green in your mind right now. Continue.
So, lifetarians eat nothing that was ever alive. So, what do we eat? We eat water, dairy, eggs, and we get our minerals from the dirt. Okay. So, I could briefly get into each of those, but I'm sure the one you're mostly scratching your heads about is dirt. So,
Yeah, tell us about dirt. Tell us about soil.
okay. Well, people generally get their vitamins and minerals from supplements or plant-derived uh, vitamin drinks or protein drinks or whatever. So, if they're having plant-based minerals and vitamins, you have to ask yourself, well, where are the plants getting them from? Okay. And the plants get them from the dirt. So lifetarians are cutting out the middleman, which is the plant, and we're going straight to the source, the dirt. So nothing has to be killed in the process of it. Okay. So there's no need to have to kill a plant in order to get properly supplemented and get proper nutrition. And this is proven. You can read articles on this. For centuries, indigenous tribes in areas such as Africa have been eating clay and dirt, and that is where they get their vitamins from. So this isn't some crazy, wacky theory I came up with. This is century proven fact. Okay.
No, it sounds excellent, especially by the fact that you say that this is ancient stuff. And I mean, we all know that when you look at the mass media today, I got a Domino's commercial on in the background. We all know these big enterprises, they love hiding our ancient past from us, hiding the truth from us. And I like where you're going with this, and I feel like my viewers, my listeners can relate. I could hear it in their ears as they're driving along, listen to their Sirius XM radio.
Well, that's good news. So, um, I mean, there's a ton of avenues we can go down.
The one avenue, because I was thinking about this, after Jeff told me about the interview, told me about your book, and we're going to get into your book in a second. But I've been thinking about this all week, and how do you feel about cars? How do you transport yourself from point A to point B? Are you one of these guys who uses a longboard, planks everywhere he goes, or what do you do?
Well, longboards are typically made out of wood, which is tree carcass. So,
Exactly.
so no.
Now,
All
what
right.
about a
Well,
car made out of metal?
all right. So I'll get into your question about what you're going based on fossil fuels.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to get at here. What do you believe about fossil fuels? I mean, they come from fossils, so while they might be dirt now, they were once living, breathing things.
Good point. And on the outside, that might appear to be anti-lifetarian, which Many cases it is. We don't eat carcasses. We don't use carcasses. We don't eat plants, fruits, or an animal that died of natural causes. The immorality comes into play based on eating or using the dead thing, not whether you killed it or not, which is also an issue. Okay, so back to fuels. There is such a thing as incidental killing. So let me elaborate on that. You might think that sounds like a cop out, and I'm sure many of you vegans are probably banging your keyboards or your steering wheel or however you're listening to this podcast. So, what I mean by incidental death is in your everyday life, you could breathe fresh air or walk across a field or a lawn, and you're probably killing some sort of microorganism somewhere. Okay? That's just fact, and there's no way around that unless you just cease to live yourself. Okay? So, the difference between incidental killing is intent. When you breathe or walk across a lawn, it's not your intent to kill anything. But if you're a meat eater or a vegan, your intent is to kill that animal or that plant. It's your intent to put that fork in your mouth, and it's your intent to chew and swallow. Okay? So those are all premeditated deaths and immoral activities. So back to fuels. You might say it's premeditated to start your car and drive. Well, the thing with fossil fuels is we have to look at what they actually are. Fossil fuels are true that some of them are made from decayed animals and plants, but after literally 600 million years, that's what it takes for them to become a fossil fuel. And at that point, they're being heated and altered in Earth's crust, etc., to the point where they're chemically altered and they're essentially not even what they used to be. So you're not actually killing or using a plant or an animal at that point. After 600 million years of chemical alteration, it's not even what it used to be. So also, if I may elaborate further, there are fossil fuels that aren't made from decayed plants and animals. There are mineral fuels such as tar sand or oil sand. And oil sands,
Like up in Canada. The oil sands you speak of come from Canada, no?
I'm not sure exactly geographically where they all originate.
Well, as my listeners know, and as I don't know if you listen to my show, my agent didn't seem to think so, but what you can learn is that Canada's actually, the forefront of freedom. Canada is pretty much like yesterday I was talking about my Putin issues and how he's so beloved by everybody, but how Putin's so beloved by his people, by our people. Canada, they don't believe into it. They don't buy into it. They don't have the modern infrastructure that we have that's owned by the media, I mean to say. So that really strikes with me what you're saying, these tar sands and things of that nature. Continue.
Right. So oil sand, which can be made into oil or fuel, is made from water, sand, clay, and bitumen, which is a hydrocarbon. So none of those things are actually made from decaying plants or leaves. So that is an alternative to regular fossil fuels. But of course, lifetarians also support natural types of energy like solar energy, which obviously isn't killing anything. So that's where we stand on that.
It's true, and it is a good resource, solar energy. I like what you're saying, though. I like the way you use logic to use fossil fuels. That's a good way to look at things, and it's better than this biodiesel that's being pushed down our throats nowadays. I mean, you can't turn on the TV without seeing a biodiesel commercial or a quote unquote electric car commercial. which isn't really electric, but that's for another day. Now tell me about your book. What's your book about? What is your book going to teach me?
Right. Well, my book is set to be complete in about a month or so. My original deadline happened to fall on Earth Day, which was a happy coincidence.
Hmm,
But I since tried to trim that down to get it released sooner, and it now is falling on April Fool's Day. So in about a month and a half, it should be complete. But
interesting.
it's coming along nicely. And the title of it is Life of a Lifetarian: How I Learned to Stop Worrying About the Vegans. And
Interesting.
your listeners might notice that How I Learned to Stop Worrying About the Vegans is a play on words from the Kubrick film uh, Doctor Strangelove: How I Learned to Stop Worrying About the Bomb, or How I
Hmm.
Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. But in this case, this is How I Learned to Stop Worrying About the Vegans.
Well, the
So
Bob.
why did
Bob
I?
doesn't even exist.
What's that?
The Bob. You mentioned that it was a play on another older book
Sure.
about some sort of a bomb, but rest assured that bomb never existed and doesn't exist to this day. It's just another tactic to get you to go out there and spend money and invest in unnecessary shelters. It's driving the industry.
All right. Well, I mean, the film is about the nuclear bomb. So the reason I'm using that as a reference and comparing the nuclear bomb to vegans is because vegans are a nuclear bomb to the world. Okay. As soon as that nuclear bomb was built, the world was made much more unsafe. And as soon as veganism became a widespread diet and philosophy, the world was doomed as well. Because I'll tell you why. The nuclear bomb, for obvious reasons, is a detriment to society and a huge threat to society. But veganism might not be as obvious. So, veganism is a nuclear bomb because,
No, I understand that veganism it is a threat to society, and what I'm gonna after you're done explaining your book, I'll tell you why I believe it's a threat to society and what the mainstay is of this interesting piece of information that I've recently come into contact with through my sources.
sure. So, why vegans are like that of a nuclear bomb is because, just again, take a look at the vegan diet. The vegan diet consists almost entirely of plants and
Right, right.
trees. And what are two things that life on Earth needs to survive?
Planted
Ox-
trees.
well, right, oxygen and carbon dioxide. That cycle between humans giving carbon dioxide and plants giving oxygen. So when veganism goes on long enough, eventually there's going to be no trees left, no more plants, so no more oxygen. So human species and the plant species are all going to die off, all because of veganism. And that is like the radioactive fallout or the blast point of a nuclear bomb, where it's going to destroy humanity. And that's what vegans are doing.
Hmm. Interesting stuff. And that's what your book is about?
Well, that was just the reference in the title, but the rest of the book is about the entire Lifetarian Creed. I go through a number of chapters. I can read you some of the chapter titles so you know what we're covering.
Hmm.
First, it starts off: what is a Lifetarian? The Lifetarian Creed. Lifetarians have the best sex. The Lifetarian diet. Vegan criticisms of Lifetarianism. So I hash through all the vegan criticisms I've gotten on the internet throughout my life.
Tell me about this Lifetarians having the best sex. I feel like that's something that my listeners are really going to appreciate. It's really going to hit their demographic. A lot of them spend a lot of time on the road, so they want to maximize that when they're at home. So if you could tell me about that, I think we might be able to convert some people for you.
Sure. So, Lifetarians have the best sex because, well, let me first just jump back quickly to the Lifetarian Creed. There are a certain number of principles that Lifetarians follow, And one of them is masturbate only without climax.
Because you don't want to waste a life.
Well, right. Well, sperm technically isn't necessarily alive, but let me just read a brief passage from the book covering this one principle. While sperm cells aren't necessarily alive like plants and animals are, it is still wrong to needlessly spill them onto Kleenex tissues like your penis has the flu. Okay? Lifetarians don't screw for sport. When we do have sex, it is explicitly for the purpose of procreation. Don't get me wrong, I know the urges that men have. Being quite a man myself, I know firsthand. Okay? That is why I advocate masturbation, but without climaxing. Life isn't being Life isn't about being a hump crazed addict. Real men aren't supposed to be thrusting their hips into every crevice like a coked out swarm of Elvis Presleys and John Travoltas. The only burn in love that Elvis felt was a venereal disease from an excessive sex life. And the only fever that John Travolta had on Saturday night was from HIV. These are the kinds of issues you run into when you treat your penis like a plunger and your vagina like a Motel 6.
I
Sperm
like
should
that.
be sperm Thank you. Sperm should be honored as the life juice that it is. It should be used for necessity and in moderation, not used as if it's a 12-pack of beer being chronically chugged by frat boys. Sex is something that should be done when you're ready to bring new life into the world, not when you're ready to bring a new drunken skank into the dorm.
That's a good way to look at things. I think that's really going to hit home with a lot of people, and it's going to open up some eyes to instead of this culture that we live in where everybody around us, nobody cares about the future. Everybody's only living in the now, doing
Exactly.
things for pleasure. They don't think about tomorrow. And what you just said right there, and that saving of your juices, really is going to really could help change the world around, and fix this crisis that we're facing, our generation at least.
Right.
With
So let me just briefly. I didn't actually answer your question yet. You asked why lifetarians have the best sex.
yeah,
So that was the prequel to the answer, and the answer is because since we only masturbate before climaxing and then cutting it out, rub, stop, rub, stop, rub, stop. Now, if you're a guy listening to this, you could imagine, say, doing that, rubbing and stopping for, say, a month. And then when you're finally ready to procreate, now imagine climaxing after all of that rubbing and stopping and a month free of no climaxing.
well, it must be the best.
When you finally do have that climax, you better make sure you're not operating any heavy machinery because your knees are gonna buckle like an NBA star juking out his opponent. Okay, you might even fall straight to the ground.
Interesting. That sounds like something I might have to try for a month. Excuse me 1 second, I have to sneeze. Oh, I think I lost it. Oh, here it comes again. All right, it went away. Nevertheless, that's interesting. Now, I understand that your agent was explaining to my agent that your time is very valuable, so I want to move things along a little more. Jacob, let me ask you a question. Are you ready to have your mind blown? To have your mind go through a world that it's never experienced before?
Sure.
Jacob, and the viewers in their cards and at home listeners, whatever you want to call yourself. I have recently come into a great wealth of information that really blew my mind and totally changed the way that I look at this whole vegan thing. What do you know? And remember the color green. I told you to bring the color green into it. What do you know about Miracle Grow? Miracle Grow, genetically engineered soil, genetically engineered dirt. What do they do with that? The packages on those are always green, tied into that green color. What do you know about it? Do you know anything interesting about it? No, I guess not. Well, let me blow your mind. A couple of years ago, and I think the year was like 1999 or so. That's when they became really rather more prevalent in the industry than they are now. Nowadays they have hundreds of different sub brands underneath the main tag Miracle Grow, which is always green, mind you. It's always green. It's always got lush pictures of vegetables and things of that nature. Well, in this year, 1999, Ice-T, the famous rapper as well as detective, got a hold of some Miracle Grow, got a contract with them doing some sort of work that I'm not too familiar with. It wasn't anything in the public, but he was working for them. And basically that's when they started putting green on everything and propagating themselves as, look, we can grow things better, we can grow things quicker. Eat our greens. Eat our greens. Don't eat meat. Eat our greens. Eat, eat, eat. So this vegan thing that became so prevalent in this millennium is a result of Miracle Grow trying to drive their profits, coloring everything green, putting vegetables everywhere, and then using a famous celebrity as well as detective from the time, Ice-T. Now, Ice-T, yeah, I wonder why does he call himself Ice-T? I don't know why he calls himself Ice-T. But then I started to think a little bit more. What is tea? Tea is a plant. Tea is a leaf. It comes from a plant. It comes from a living thing, like you were saying. It's wrong to crush that up, to take that and crush it up and eat it. It's another vegan thing that people are taking and ingesting into their bodies, spending money on these products, and it's despicable. Growing this monopoly that Miracle Grow has on the soil and dirt industry, and all the while pushing fake soil, genetically engineered, lab-made soil, not soil that God made, not soil that comes from the earth, but soil made in a lab at the hands of scientists. What do you think about that?
You're asking when I think about genetically engineered soil?
No, this is Miracle Grow conspiracy. Have you heard of this before? I feel like this is right up your alley. This is something that, I just got wind of it, but you must have known about for ages. How evil these vegans are. Like I said, they're trying to get everybody to eat all the green, generate more money for
Right.
them, and ultimately, by eating all the green, decrease the oxygen supplies in the atmosphere and affect population control, which will lead to martial law.
Yeah, well, I guess I have to agree with you thus far. So, how deep does this conspiracy go?
It goes, lengthwise, you talking about, or like how deep, how many layers back through our society, how many layers of our current society? Like, what do you mean how deep? Define deep. Deep like the Cat in the Hat one that I talked about last week. That one went on for what is that, 5 or 6 decades. This one's only about 2 decades deep. 1999.
Right. And I agree. There is a lot of propaganda in the media to force everyone to eat their greens
You
because
know,
that's misinformation pushed by trendy vegan liberal moms.
exactly. And if you go to any of these modern supermarkets, they always have vegan listed everywhere. Everything's painted green. The awnings to the stores are all green, putting that green in your mind. And now, if you look up other soil mulch companies, their packaging is not nearly as green as Miracle-Gro. All the money is going towards Miracle-Gro. Now, I do believe, and as my viewers or listeners can vouch, that there are many different forces at play, all trying to get their own, you know, forms of control, new world orders, differences between the Miracle Grow New World Order, the Hollywood New World Order, the Robert Hemlin New World Order. There are many, many different kinds, and this is just one of them. But this one is it's pretty prevalent. It's pretty out there. I mean, the whole veganism thing all stems from it. You know, I think it's a threat. I think it's something that we got to inform people about.
Absolutely. You're very right about that. And is Miracle Grow, is that a Monsanto company or what?
Well, no, I mean, you'd actually be very surprised to learn that of all my connections, of all my resources, Monsanto is actually a pretty honest, legitimate company as far as I've been able to find out. Miracle Grow is on its own level. They are on their own. their own spider web, so to speak. I don't know who they report to, but I can assure you it's not Monsanto. As far as I know, Monsanto. I mean, then again, Monsanto is also very trendy these days, so maybe they're not up to on the uppity up, as some may say, because they are the trendy company, as far as I know.
Right. Well, I do have my issues with with Monsanto, but
Well, they produce food. You don't like once alive food, agriculture. That's not your style.
exactly. Those are concentration camps for plants.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you're even familiar with this, because actually one of my interns just brought over to me some paperwork on Monsanto. I guess I never got to this, but it might actually, you might actually be right about them. They might not be as good as I thought. Not to say good, but trendy as I thought. The trendiness explains itself. Now they are actually collaborating with academias and universities across the country. Now, as you know, academias, universities are designed to push these thoughts into people's minds to be vegan, to be heathens, to be party animals. That's what the modern education system is designed to do, to get people to spend more money, to not pay attention to the real issues. The lack of oxygen that we could be losing, the cat in the hat, to the real issues, to spend more money and to distract people. And if Monsanto is partnering with this, then, there's more evidence going against them, gaining against them.
Right. So the do you have anything else about the Miracle Grow aspect? Do
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
you have any other intel on Miracle Grow?
Like I said, I've only come into contact with this information in the past week. It's a growing story. We're going to continue to cover it. I do know that certain plants that are grown in Miracle Grow soil, for example, a tomato plant you may grow in your backyard using Miracle Grow, those plants, interestingly enough, don't produce oxygen. They don't. They actually take in oxygen and produce carbon dioxide. Basically, the exact opposite of what they're supposed to be. Now, could that be from genetically engineered seeds? Or could that be from the Miracle Grow? I don't know. But my sources are telling me that this is true. Once again, population control. Because what's the big hip thing now, too? Freedom gardens, patriotism gardens. That's big. That's prevalent.
Sure.
That's big.
That's the
Jacob, I
anti.
just got to pause for one quick second. I got somebody knocking on the door. I will be right back, alright?
All right.
Yeah, sorry about that. Basically, it's these fake energy companies that come by the studio from time to time trying to sell knockoff electricity.
Sure. So what you were saying though about population control is all part of the anti-life campaign that is so pushed by trendy vegans and liberals.
Yeah.
So they don't respect human life because they don't respect plant life.
No, they respect no life. You either respect all life or no life. I agree.
Exactly. And that's what lifetarians honor.
I like it. I feel like it's going to resonate with my listeners as well, which is good. That is good stuff. But unfortunately, Jacob, it looks like we are coming to the end of the block that I am legally allowed to have you for today. Legally is a loose thing because who has the rights to state even legally? What does that even mean, man? But that's for another topic. But I really want to thank you for coming on the show. My listeners, stay tuned for the next segment. We're not done here today. And any final words?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for having me on your podcast, and I'd like to come back when the book is complete so I could give it a proper promotion.
Yeah, definitely. We can maybe even have a reading done, a live reading. Could work something like that out.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. But all right, you have your agent get in contact with my agent, and we'll continue to work on this further on down the road. Thanks for coming again, and for my listeners, just stay tuned for this little commercial break, and that's about it. Thanks, Jacob.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
Ground control, 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 ground
And wow, that was an excellent interview, guys. Um, just a joy to actually have a real passionate talker call in, come to me, have his agent come to me, and set up an interview like that. I mean, it's excellent. You can't ask for a better story, better plug. I think we're gonna cut it shy, cut it down for this week. Now, we're gonna end it. My goals moving forward, I'm gonna try and get a vegan to do an interview with. I got my boy Jeff working on that, and I think it'll be nice to see a contrast between the two groups, and we'll be able to branch more into the theories of how our world is being controlled and how it's coming to an end. I mean, I got a big bit on the Oscars for next week. Let me tell you about that. Alright, guys. I'll see you again next week.